Alright, good afternoon, class. Today, we're doing some more notes. It's kind of like what we did last week. I'm going to have you guys turn them in just like you guys did last week. Most of you guys got those in and got those points. It's nice, easy points. There's a handful of you guys who didn't yet, though. So, if you didn't, I posted in Google Classroom the video again, so you on your free time sometime at home, you can pull the video again and take the notes and submit that, and you still get your full points. Make sure you do that if you have not turned in already. So today we're going to be doing more notes like I said. The title here, so you guys all have take out a line paper, and you're going to put your name at the top right. And this title here is Subtracting Integers Notes. I'll give you guys a few seconds to pull that out, and we could, if people still need more time, we could pause that video also. Alright, so before we actually talk about subtraction, we're going to do some review problems of addition from what you guys learned last week. So I'm going to have you guys copy this down. Review 1, 2, 3, 4 practice problems, or actually let's make it 5 practice problems. Number 5 will be like a bonus. So here we get pause the video for maybe 3 minutes. Give you guys all a chance to try to do these problems, and you can check what the answer is. So the first one is -4 plus 7. And you guys can see the other ones. So here we go. Pause the video and give everyone a few minutes to work on that. Feel free, after you're done with it, you can check with the neighbor also. Alright, so hopefully everyone had time to go through all those problems and get your answers, so you can check and follow along as we go over right now. So the first one, just recall that, remember, when we're adding two numbers of different signs, just like number 1, number 2, and number 3 are, right? If they're different signs, you got to do the bigger one, take away the smaller one. So like the number that would have the bigger arrow, so 7 would have a bigger arrow than -4, right? So you do the bigger one, 7, take away 4 is 3. And this one's going to be +3 because the bigger arrow, the number the bigger arrow was the positive one. Second one, same concept. They're two different signs, right? You do the bigger one, which in this case, -10, because that would have a bigger arrow than +8. You do 10, take away 8 is 2. But remember, since we circled the negative one, the bigger one's negative, the answer has to be negative. The third one, again, just like the first two numbers of different signs, right? So you do the bigger one. I'll circle the bigger one. 13, take away 6 is 7. But make sure you put a negative there. Just like all those other ones. You got to make sure, after you get the number, you got to determine which one it should be, a +7 or a -7. Number 4, here they're both negative, right? So remember, if you're adding two negatives, it's like you go back in the number line. You go back, and you go back even more. It's like you're combining, working together, right? 11, -11 plus -5. It's kind of like just 11 plus 5 is 16. But since you're going back on the number line twice, you know you're going to have a negative number. So basically, if you're adding two negatives, you know the answer should be negative. Alright, last one, number 5. I threw in a little decimal here, but it's the same concept. You do the bigger one, since there are different signs, right? You got a positive and negative. You do 15.5, take away 7. Just like, remember, 15.5 is like 15.5 or $15.50. So $15.50 take away $7. It's just like 15 take away 7 is 8, but you still got that 0.5, so 8.5. And it's positive since the bigger one was positive. So hopefully a lot of you guys got most of those right and have a fairly good understanding of it. We'll have a quiz on adding and subtracting integers like this at the end of the week, maybe Thursday. Let's see. So that's addition, though. Now we're going to hit something new, which is subtraction. for this problem, kind of like this, what we did last week, we're going to draw two number lines side by side. On your number lines, you're going to start in this problems, start at -1. Go to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So go from -1 to 5. That should be good enough. So we got two problems. So we got, let's see, yeah, we got two different problems. They look pretty similar. It's a little bit different, right? So the first one is 3 plus 2 plus -2. So let's just do that one together. Remember, we start at 0, we go to 3 to represent 3. The plus 2, that means you go 2 more to the right. But then after that, we got plus -2, right? So what happens if I'm adding a -2? That means I'm going back 2, right? Where do you end up at? 3. Okay, so you can kind of see there the 2 and the -2, they cancel out, right? So that's why we just got 3. Okay, the one on the right starts off the same way. We go over to the right, 3. Then we got 2 is plus 2, right? But then here we haven't done subtraction on the number line before. We've had negatives on the number line, so we know negatives takes us back, right? Look at the first problem. But here we gotta subtract 2. I want you guys to think about what's another word for subtract. There's minus. There's another one, more simple, that you may have learned when you first learned subtraction. Take away, right? So another word for subtraction is taking away. So here, subtracting 2 here is just like take away 2. Looking at the number line, how can I take away this 2? Let me repeat that. How do we take away 2 on the number line? Can we take away that 2 we just added? Remember how here we got 3 plus 2? That means I went over 3 and then over 2 again. Right here, we're taking away 2. It's just like I'm taking away this arrow, right? I'm taking away this 2 here. So what we can actually do is cross it out. I'm putting it red. This is taking away 2. Taking away just means getting rid of it. So we get rid of that arrow. What do we got left? We just got 3, right? So your answer here is 3. I want you guys to write that. So both problems, my answer was 3. And both problems start off the same way, right? We got 3 plus 2. We got 3 plus 2. But what was the difference? In the first problem, it was plus -2. That means I went back 2. In the second problem is -2. That means instead of going back 2, I took away that 2 that went forward, right? So it looks different here, right? But what was the result? The result was the same answer. It was both 3. 3 is the answer in both problems, right? So what we're trying to point out here, or what I'm trying to tell you guys here, is that adding -2 means you go back 2. Taking away 2 is kind of also like you going back 2 also. So that I want you guys to see here, they mean the same thing. I'm circling both in purple. Subtracting 2 is the same as adding -2. So let's write that. Subtracting 2 is the same as adding -2. Again, to prove that, it's just like looking at number line. When we added -2, I go back 2. When we subtract 2, I'm getting rid of 2 numbers that go forward, right? This number 2 here, it went forward 2. So I'm getting rid of that. So I'm basically going back 2. Subtracting 2, same as adding -2. kind of like if you owed your friend $2, right? That's a debt. That's -2. Or if you spent $2 or you lost $2, that's taking away 2. It's the same thing. Getting a debt of 2 is the same as losing $2. And so here, this works for any number. Subtracting any number is the same as adding the negative version of it. So let's write that even below this. I'm erase all this. So underneath it, we'll write something similar. So subtracting. That was a positive 2 we'd subtract, right? Subtracting a positive number is the same as adding its negative version. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to write that down. Subtracting a positive number is the same as adding its negative version. So we'll do a few examples here. So 8 subtract 5. What we're going to do is we're going to think about subtracting 5 here is the same as what? Thinking about what we just wrote as our notes. Subtracting a positive number, right? What are we subtracting here? We're subtracting a positive 5. We know it's the same as adding its negative version. So subtracting 5, I'm just going to write arrow. It's the same as adding what? Try to think about what goes in there. Subtracting 5 is the same as adding -5. So what I want you guys, we're going to end up practicing, you guys hopefully get good at by the end of the lesson today, is you're going to see subtraction problems and you're going to rewrite them as addition problems. Now this is the same problem as what we did at the beginning of class and all last week, right? I know this problem here, you guys just look at it and you tell it's 3, right? Right, equals 3. Same thing here, 8 plus -5. You do the bigger one, take away the small one. 8 take away 5 is 3. Since the bigger one's positive, it's still 3. Okay, this problem is probably easier to just keep it as subtraction, right? But you will see some problems. I'll put a problem right now where it's easier. It is easier to change it to what we have right here. Alright, so I want you guys to write that. -6 subtract 2. We draw a line underneath the other problem we just did to kind of separate them. So let's think about how do we subtract that? How do we change, not how do we subtract it, how do we change that into addition problem? Again, look at what we just wrote. Subtracting a positive number. What are we subtracting here? We're subtracting positive 2, right? Subtracting a positive number is the same as adding its negative version. So subtracting 2 is the same as adding what? What's the negative of 2? The negative 2 of the negative version of 2 is just -2, right? So whenever you guys see a subtraction problem, we're going to change it so it's like this. Key thing to notice is nothing happened to that first number, right? We kept that number the same. All we did was the subtraction returned to addition, and then the number after, which was 2, now became -2. We changed 2 things. I'm putting 2 fingers up right now, but I realize it doesn't matter because you guys can't see that. But yeah, we're doing 2 things. We changed the subtraction to addition, and that 2 became -2. Alright, so the answer here, now we're doing what we did before, right? We're adding 2 numbers of the same sign. What's -2 plus -6? Just do, remember, they're the same sign. You just do 6 plus 2 is 8, but they're both negative, so it's -8. A lot of people look at this problem and think it's -4. It is not. That's why it's a lot easier to rewrite it as an addition. We'll do one more example. and then we'll talk about one more thing. Okay, what about 5 subtract 9? Again, we're going to rewrite it as an addition problem, right? Just like I said before, that first number, we keep it the same. So, let's see. This part here, subtracting 9, taking away 9 is the same as adding what? Common mistake students make here is they change it plus 9. These two are not the same problems. Taking away 9 is not the same as adding 9. Taking away 9 is the same as adding negative 9. Once again, you see how we switched two things. Subtraction became addition. That 9 became a negative 9. Alright, now we do this just like we did at the beginning of class and last week. You do the bigger one, take away the smaller one. 9 take away 5 is 4. But since this problem, the bigger number is negative, the answer has to be negative 4. Alright, so we'll revisit that in a little bit. Now we're going to move on. I guess we're kind of halfway through. Do another 2 number lines. Let's see. Change it to 4 plus negative 2 on the left. And then on the right, plus 2. And then on the right, we do 4 plus negative 2. Subtract negative 2. So on this number line, we'll just start at 0. Just because usually we have that negative side, right? But just so we have enough room, we'll go from 0 to 7. Alright, so let's see. For the first one, 4 plus negative 2 plus 2. That one you guys should all be able to do. From 0 to 4, then negative 2, then they go back 2, right? Then I got a positive 2, so I go forward 2. Or we end up at 4 again, right? Because we end up at 4 here because you notice how those two numbers, they just cancel each other out. Let me fix some of those arrows. Alright, then the problem on the right. This one we have a subtraction, right? So remember, subtraction, we don't really draw arrows for those. We just take something away. So here, I start off the same way. I go forward 4, go back 2. But next, we're taking away something. What are we taking away? We're taking away a negative 2. Let me go back to the number line, fix that up real quick. So we're taking away a negative 2. Looking at the number line, do we see a negative 2 somewhere? Yeah, right, we got this negative 2, right? So, again, it's subtraction. We're taking away a negative 2. So how do we show that we're taking it away? We're going to cross off that whole arrow, act like it doesn't exist anymore, right? If we take away that arrow, what do we end up left now? We end up at 4, just like the other problem. So both these answers are 4. And similar to the last problem we did with the 2 number lines. Both problems start off the same way, 4 plus negative 2, right? But in the first one, we're adding positive 2, which took us 2 to the right. But in the second one, we're taking away negative 2, which does what? It takes away an arrow that goes back 2. So it's like it's pushing us to the right. Just like in the problem above, or the problem to the left, right? We're adding 2, takes us 2 to the right. Here, we're taking away negatives. Remember, negatives takes us to the left. So we take away that negative, it basically takes us back to the right. So, just like before, I want you guys to see that adding 2 is the same as subtracting negative 2. So let's write that. Actually, no, let me fix that. Sorry about that. Subtracting negative 2 is the same as adding positive 2. So subtracting a negative 2 is the same as adding a positive 2. So again, subtracting negatives, remember, negatives takes it to the left, but we take away that negative, is like it's taking us back to the right. Adding a positive 2 also takes us to the right. So it's the same thing, pretty much, just written differently. Give you guys a few seconds to write that. Here we go, it's positive video if people have not gotten it yet, but I'll move on to the next part. So here we go, subtracting a negative number is the same as adding its positive version. You guys do something to write that down. Alright, so here we'll do some examples after you guys have that written down. Okay, so 6 minus negative 9. So think about that statement we just wrote above. Subtracting a negative number is the same as adding its positive version. So what are we subtracting here? We're subtracting negative 9. That's going to be the same as adding its positive version. What's the positive version of a negative 9? Positive 9, right? Once again, just like in the other problems, notice how the first numbers stay the same. So 6 plus 9 here is going to be 15. A lot of people here, they look at this problem, they just put 3 or something, or negative 3, because they think it's like the problems we did last week. But it's a subtraction. Change the subtraction to addition. Change that negative 9 to positive 9. You do two things always. Alright, I want you guys to think about how would we rewrite this one. Negative 5 subtracting negative 5. Just like the other problem. Let's just good way to start. Just leave that, write down that first number. Just keep that the same. Remember, subtracting negative 5. Taking away negative 5 is the same as adding positive 5. Once again, for all these problems, even the ones we did earlier, you're always doing two things. Subtraction becomes addition. Negative 5 becomes the opposite of what it was. It was a negative 5, now it becomes a positive 5. And what's negative 5 plus positive 5? That one we should get real quick, right? Because they're opposites. At the very beginning of this module, we talked about what happens when you add opposites. Negative 5 plus positive 5 gets you 0. A shortcut some people find useful is, again, both these problems, you got kind of tell yourself, whenever you see two negatives like that, or, well, one's a subtraction, one's a negative, but whenever you see those two, they look like, whenever you see those two signs that look like right next to each other and a parentheses in between, you would kind of just make it a big plus sign, which is what it is over here, right? A little shortcut if you want to do that. Same thing up there. Alright, I want to do write one last sentence as a summary. So right here, kind of combining what we said in those other two statements, but just put a star by this part. This would be the thing you guys go to as your notes whenever you guys do these problems. Subtracting a number is the same as adding its opposite. So we'll do two problems here real quick as a final examples. So subtracting a number is the same as adding its opposite. So both these problems, we're going to change the subtraction to addition. Just remember, keep that first number the same. Subtracting a number, right? Subtracting a number is the same as adding. So we're going to change it to adding. Its opposite. So what number do we have here? Remember, that's a 7. It's not a negative 7, right? This here is a subtraction sign. Subtracting positive 7 here. But we change it so that's adding what's the opposite of positive 7? Negative 7. So now we have the same problem we did last week where we're just adding two negative numbers. Negative 4 and negative 7 makes negative 11. And then right here on the bottom, where we keep that first number there, subtracting negative 10, right? Subtraction becomes addition. Subtracting a number is the same as adding its opposite. What's the opposite of negative 10? Positive 10, right? So that's how you change it. We always do two things. Right here, you can do that shortcut if you want. But we're always changing two things. Let me draw the little arrows real quick to show you guys what we're always changing. Subtraction becomes addition. The number after it was 7 becomes negative 7. Same thing on the bottom problem. Subtraction becomes addition. The negative 10 now becomes positive 10. Alright, so for the rest of the class and what's going to be homework if you don't finish it will be page 40. So I want you guys to work on that. Number 1 and 2. Number 3, if you could do it, maybe give you some extra credit. If not, don't worry about it. Just do number 1 and number 2. For these problems, just like the way we did right here, I don't want you to just have a problem and write it as an addition. Alright, I don't want you to just write the answer. You have to rewrite it as an addition problem. So change the subtraction into addition and then get the answer. Remember, you always do two things when you rewrite it. So good luck with that.